You know, account management is one of those pieces of a business that we don't really think a lot about. We think a whole ton about new sales. Of course, you've heard me rave about it and talk to you about this tactic and that thing you got to do. And we talk about how to keep customers, but we don't really talk about how to expand customers, how to get them to upsell, how to get them to pay more and open their wallet a little bit more. They trust us already because they've bought the product before, but how do we get them to actually upgrade? Well, Alex Raymond's one of the experts in the industry. He's with Kapta. He shares exactly what you can do so that you can get your buyers starting to expand a little more. And the companies who are doing this correctly are getting huge percentage gains from their existing customer base. Definitely check this out. I think you're going to like how you can get more from your customers.
Welcome to Scale Your SaaS, the podcast that gives you proven techniques and formulas for boosting your revenue and achieving your dream exit. Brought to you by a guy who's done just that multiple times. Here's your host, Matt Wolach.
Hello, welcome to Scale Your SaaS. Thank you very much for being here. Really glad that you've been able to join us. On Scale Your SaaS, our mission is to help you do exactly that. Let's grow your company. We're going to learn how to scale through generating leads, getting a bunch of great, perfect opportunities. Once we have those opportunities, how do we close those opportunities? And then how do we scale our team? And how do we make sure the customers that we have are continuing to get value and expanding their business with us? All of those things you will learn here. So make sure you're subscribed to the show. If you do not have a subscription yet, hit that and you'll be good to go. You'll learn about all of these cool tactics and strategies from amazing leaders and innovators around the world of B2B SaaS. And one of those amazing people is here with us today. This guy is awesome. I've had some great conversations with him already. I've got Alex Raymond with me. Alex, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic, Matt. Thanks so much for being here, and congrats on over 300 episodes. That really shows your commitment to the market and helping people to grow their companies.
Well, thank you. Awesome of you to say so. I'm really excited about that myself, and I think it's something that's really fun for me. I get to meet great people like yourself, so I appreciate that. Okay. Alex, I'm going to explain to everybody who you are because you've got an awesome background and you're doing a lot of great things. So Alex, he's the founder and CEO at Kapta. Kapta is a management platform that helps internal and customer-facing teams drive explosive growth through collaboration, feedback, and execution. This system, it's purpose-built for organizations who want to establish, expand, or improve their key account management function, something we're going to talk a lot about today. Alex himself, he's a fearless leader, entrepreneur, and business success leader. He built Kapta from just a kernel of an idea with the help of an amazing team of bright and passionate people. This guy is incredible. He's launched multiple companies, worked around the globe, and I can't wait to learn from his experience. So Alex, thanks for being here.
Awesome. I'm psyched to jump in here, Matt.
Cool. So tell me, what have you been up to lately and what do you have coming up?
Well, there's a lot going on in 2024, as you know. And what I've been noticing in talking to our clients, our Kapta clients, and just sort of the software world more generally, and any type of sales leader or CRO, is I've come to think of 2024, the words that I use are, it's like the big squeeze. It's the big squeeze out there. The reason I say that is everybody's getting, totally just being told, do more with less, fewer resources. Your goals haven't changed. Your quotas haven't changed. And this is causing so much stress for teams. They're feeling it from all sides. So I'm noticing that in the conversations that I'm having. You and I met last week in Austin at that really fantastic conference, SaaS Open. And again, there, people were talking about the fact that, man, I got fewer people than last year. My leads are drying up. And by the way, my customers are less responsive than they used to be. I don't know what's going on with my existing book of business as well. So not only is the sales process difficult, engaging with our existing customers is also very hard. So that's something that I'm seeing loud and clear out there in the market in 2024. Does that resonate with you? Are you on the same page there?
We'll be right back. Hey, it's Matt. If you're anything like me, you check your website analytics and you see people coming to your site, but you have no idea who they are or what they're doing. Plus, why aren't they converting into leads? That's why I now use Lead Feeder. This thing is slick. Lead Feeder is a tool that shows me which companies are coming to my site, plus which pages they visited and in which order. So I can see their interest level just by what they're doing. You can use it too. You can track your site visitors' behavior and integrate the data from Lead Feeder with your CRM that helps make your lead generation efforts more targeted. The result, website traffic converts to sales. Click the link in the description and go to to leadfeeder.com for a free demo and get a free extended premium trial when you let the rep know that you heard Leadfeeder through the Scale Your SaaS podcast. Finally know who's visiting your site with Leadfeeder. Do it. And we're back. Absolutely. Absolutely on the same page. I think that's really insightful. And what I see it as is what I call software fatigue. Mm-hmm. Everybody's being approached with this tool can do this for you. You need to efficientize this thing and make this better. And everybody's got a tool to be able to sell. And everybody's getting hit with this all the time. So it's really hard to be a buyer in this market because there's just a glut of different solutions out there. And so I think the real key is which ones can separate and differentiate and really find that avenue that's going to work well. And something we're going to talk about today, which ones can learn how to expand their existing business, because it's not always going to come from new business. So what I want to ask you, though, going back is, how did you come up with the idea for Kapta? Where did this all come from?
Well, so the idea of Kapta was, as a classic startup story, we started doing one thing and realized that there was more opportunity in another. And so the origin story of the business actually comes from HR technology, meaning both myself and my co-founder, we'd spent some time in the HR world, and we knew that there was this whole concept of like performance management, or what's now called OKRs, right? So what are your goals for the quarter and how are you going to get there and this sort of thing. So we created a solution that was focused on the needs of HR to kind of help people be aligned around their goals and deliverables. And it turned out that HR was using it in a certain way, but several of our clients were independently using this to focus on making sure they were delivering for their customers. And so a really different use case, right? So we thought, oh, this is internal. And a lot of people were saying, well, no, I've got this really big customer, Citibank or Nike or Vodafone or whatever it is. And if I don't communicate with them on a very regular basis of all the stuff we've done, they forget that I'm here. They ask me, what have you done for me lately? They challenge the bill, the invoice that I might send them. And I'm really not perceived as being a partner. And so we saw people in the software starting to do things like create essentially mini account plans, right? Here's what I said I was going to do for the client, A, B, C, D, E, et cetera. And they were, in some cases, sharing that internally or even with the client. And that was an incredible epiphany for us, because the first question we asked, obviously, is, wait a minute, you have a CRM. Can't your CRM do this? And I knew nothing about the CRM space at the time. Universally, the answer was no, right? So I'm like, head explodes. What do you mean your customer relationship management software can't help you manage your customer relationships? And they all said, amazing. Oh, CRM, Salesforce, or Dynamics, or whatever it is. Those are all for pre-sales and hyperscale and spam machines and running deals. None of these things are helping us to manage the customer once we get it. So Matt, you know how much effort goes into winning a customer. I mean, this is your business, right? How much it takes to finally get them to sign on the dotted line and to commit to you. And here is a gigantic gulf out there in the B2B world, especially with early stage companies, but it happens even in the more mature ones. They think that is the end of the process. They think the sale is the end. Hey, great, check. I got the signed document. I rang the gong. We're good. That is totally the old way of thinking. That is not at all what the world looks like in 2024. So to answer your question, that was how we developed the business of Kapta. And as we were doing that, we learned more and more about the space, more and more about what account managers, and by the way, sometimes they're called customer success, sometimes they're called client services, lots of names for this, but it's whoever's in charge of the post-sale relationship expansion and retention. That's what I broadly call account managers. So we just learned so much about who they are, what they do, how they think, and the challenges that they have out there. And so our mission is now to equip this incredibly important group, right, who are typically responsible from anywhere between 70 to 80% of your annual revenue. Now, in a year like 2024, guess what? It's even more, right? It's at the high end of that scale because new business has dried up for so many people. And so we learned that, if I were to talk to a CRO, for example, you talk to CROs all the time, and you say, what's your sales process? He or she is going to be super meticulous. They're like, here's the process. It's written in stone. We do MEDDIC or MEDPIC or whatever the thing is. And all my reps do it. And I have 100% compliance. And we're really strict about this process. Great. Super. Wonderful. And then you say, what's your process once someone becomes a customer and they look at you like, I have no idea. I think we just wing it. I've got 10 people on the team. One thing I hear all the time, I got 10 people on the team and 11 different ways of doing things. And you're like, yeah, no kidding. And this is the problem that we are now actively solving for people.
I think it's genius because you're absolutely right. Everybody thinks of sales as upfront sales. And I can tell you, people come to me for sales help. That's why I'm here. And always they're asking for upfront sales help, whether it's lead generation, whether it's closing the deal, scaling the new logo sales team. Nobody's asking about how can we boost our existing business? How can we improve expansion? Why do you think it is that nobody thinks about that? Because I agree. I feel like this is a very old way of thinking. You know, back when software was you sell a disk and you download something onto your device. That's how we thought. You just have to sell the disk. Who cares what happens after it? It's over. I sold it to them. It's up to them from now. And even though now we're in a SaaS world where it's every month or every quarter, every year, and it repeats, we haven't really shifted that thinking. We haven't really gone away from the upfront is the big thing. And we haven't learned that, hey, they're with us all the time. We can upsell and get even more from them. Do you have any conjecture or understanding of why that is?
That's a very important question. And it's hard to figure it all out. Certainly, everyone gets excited by the chase, right? They get excited by the deal and the competition and the pressure and getting the document and ringing the bell or striking the gong or whatever they're doing. But that is only the beginning of the journey. And even when you look at things like the payback period for SaaS or where you make your most profits, it's down the road. It's not in that first year. And so guess what? If you're churning your customer in year one or year two, if you're churning before you're anywhere close to the payback period, you're losing money on that customer. And so profits grow over time, right? So that's a really important thing to remember. 2024 is the year of profitability, right? Profits grow over time. So keep your existing customers. They will get more profitable. You will get more profitable as a result. So that's an absolutely critical thing for us to be remembering here. Other thing is existing customers are so much easier to sell to than new customers, right? I mean, the typical statistics are 5 to 6 times easier. Okay, great. Well, guess what? They also buy faster, right? Guess what? They are also more likely to recommend you to their friends. So they're more likely to be advocates for you. So there's so many reasons to get this right. They're more likely to become part of your customer advisory board or give you feedback on the product. They're more likely to just expand into new product features that you might be offering. So there's so many benefits and so many reasons to do this. But I think one of the challenges has always been a lack of process and a lack of the right KPIs. Because one of the things that I've noted is a lot of account management and customer success teams suffer from the problem that nobody else in the company understands what they actually do on a day-to-day basis. So if you're to literally trip over the marketing person or the COO or whoever, and you said, hey, what does account management do? They would have no idea. Right? They say, I don't know. I know what sales does because they're the people always running around, taking credit for everything and winning new business. I have no idea what these client services or client directors are doing out there. And so lack of visibility inside the company means they don't get the resources they deserve. They probably don't have the process. They might not have the seniority or the quality of the people, of the team that they might otherwise want to have, for example. And so that's a really endemic problem. And I always think about this as the account managers are the unsung heroes. They do so much work. They spend so much time with the customer. Think of how much knowledge your average account manager has about the market, the competition, the needs of your customer, all that sort of stuff. And so they really are out there doing tremendous work. And we are trying to help them elevate their profile within the company. So this means adopting a process. This means having a very small number of goals that they can focus on and then hit and then, toot their horn within the company and say, hey, we got there, those kind of things. And also collaborate better with the whole group. So there's nothing worse out there than silos in business. But we see that a lot too, where, the implementation team is talking to the customer, the account management team is talking to the customer, the salesperson's out there trying to get the renewal. You might have marketing trying to get a case study. And the poor customer's just sitting there like, man, what's going on here? Why do I have 4 people from the same company trying to bombard me for my time and energy? So this is all part of what we see out there in the world. It's such an important and underlooked area for most companies.
I agree. And one of the things that I have found very, very helpful with my account management process with my teams is I like putting that team on the sales team. And it's so funny because a lot of people are like, well, no, you can't put them with sales because they're after the sell. I'm like, well, no, the sale never stops. Like just because we close the initial deal doesn't mean we should stop selling. And so many times we have customer success do it. Now, my take, my history is that customer success people typically come from uplifting customer support people. They've been promoted from customer support. Now they're with customer success. But in my mind, I want a salesperson doing these things. I want somebody with a sales brain who has sales metrics and goals that they're trying to get to, who has sales training, and who reports to the sales leader. That way they're constantly thinking about selling as opposed to a customer success person who wants to take care of and keep people. And that's great. We need that. But I also want to upsell. I want to expand. And so that's how I've seen it work for my teams. What's your take on that, Alex?
This is a big conversation that's happening right now in the customer success field specifically. Okay. So there's a lot of conversation. Do we need CS? What's the right role of CS? Where should it live? What should they do? All that sort of stuff. And it's really, really happening like right now. So this conversation is live. It's hot. There's a lot of energy to it. My personal belief is that all this needs to roll up to revenue, because whether you're keeping revenue, meaning you're in charge of retention, or whether you're in charge of expansion, in the post-sales, those are both critical revenue and profit drivers for your company, right? So I believe that the team needs to be responsible for revenue, and that could be retention, that could be growth. Now, and so I see a lot of chief customer officers, which is a fairly new title. I see a lot of chief customer officers make the mistake of saying, oh, we're here for, customer satisfaction or customer delight or customer happiness, or, we're in charge of like all the experience that they have with our brand. I don't think that's working in 2024. I think we've got to be at the sharp end of the stick. The sharp end of the stick here is revenue. And I do see people divide into new business and then existing customers. And that's totally fine to have separate teams as long as, to your point, we've got the sales training, we've got the sales acumen behind them. At the end of the day, the roles and responsibilities still are different. Okay. The profile of someone who might traditionally be called a hunter is going to be different than someone traditionally called a farmer, right? And just in terms of how they're working. Typically, for the strategic account managers, they have a very small portfolio of clients. Their job is to be, the single person on a $1 million account or a $5 million account or something like that. So they're not out there trying to chase 50 or 100 or 500 leads. They're really, really very focused. Therefore, they need to be super great communicators. They need to have very good business acumen. They need to know your product or service inside and out. They need to be able to develop executive level relationships in a way that makes them a trusted advisor. So it tends to be a different profile than a salesperson. And at the same time, it should all roll up into a CRO function or something like that.
Yeah, well, I think that's very well said. So if we think about it right now, we know that this is not something that a lot of companies look at. What are the biggest mistakes that software companies are making when it comes to this account management function?
There's a couple of big mistakes. One of the ones that comes up a lot is that this mental model that says that customer satisfaction or customer happiness equals retention, growth, and success. Okay. And that has been shown over and over and over again to be absolutely false. So NPS literally makes no difference. Your NPS score makes no difference to a customer's likelihood to renew or not. Okay.
Wow.
It could be an NPS of 7. It could be an NPS of 2. Their renewal rate is basically going to be exactly the same. So people are equating in their mind, my job as an account manager is to make the customer happy. No, your job as an account manager is to make the customer successful. They hired you, they bought from your company because you are the expert in solving a particular problem that they have. Let's go create the success scorecard or the value scorecard for this customer and do what it takes to make them successful. Happy or not happy actually doesn't matter. Oddly, the best predictor when it comes to NPS, so Net Promoter Score, the best predictor and the best way that NPS links into retention has nothing to do with the score. It has to do with the response rate. People who respond to NPS surveys are more likely to renew than those who don't. That's the entirety of the correlation out there, which is one of the reasons that I think NPS simply doesn't belong in 2024. So it's really interesting statistics. So what are the best companies doing out there? The best companies say, our goal as account managers is to deliver customer results. And they have a process to do that. They have a way to measure, and they have a way to communicate that back to the customer. Amazingly, and here's another data point. By the way, I'm not getting these all myself. A lot of these come from people that I interact with and follow. There's one particular guy, his name is Greg Danes, fantastic mind and consultant in this area. He does a lot of this research, and so he has supplied that to me. He said, so imagine you're tracking value for a customer. And the value sometimes is we're saving them money, sometimes is we're making them more efficient, sometimes we're making them money, et cetera. But he says, if you go through the process of scoring the value that you're providing to a client, what do you think the minimum value is for them to stay with you and renew for another year? And so you might think it's got to be $1 million, or it's got to be 10% of the contract value, or it's got to be, whatever it is. Greg told me the minimum it takes for someone to agree to move forward, if you are measuring their value, the value that they're getting, the success they're getting, the minimum for them to continue to agree to work with you is you made them or you saved them $1.
Wow. That's amazing.
So what does that mean? What that means is we spend all of our time thinking up all this other stuff that we need to be doing, and we're wasting our time and energy instead of helping our customers see small, measurable progress as a result of us working with them. If they can see that, they are infinitely more likely to stay with us for the long term. So if we just show up, and by the way, it doesn't even have to be perfect. It's not like you always have to be up and to the right. It's not like you have to show explosive results. All you have to show is, Mr. Customer, Madam Customer, I understand the problem that you're solving. I'm an expert. We're here to help. And here's how we are doing together to help you solve this problem. Once your customer hears that, they breathe a sigh of relief, and they're like, oh, I get it. Matt truly understands who I am and where I'm going and what I'm talking about. He will help me get there. And that's essentially what you need to be conveying.
Amazing. Amazing. That's so incredible that it's that small. I'm glad that there's studies and research being done on this, because that is way lower than what I would have guessed. But It actually makes sense, because as soon as you said that, it reminded me of a conversation I had with some of my clients this morning who were asking me about the process when they're doing a new sale of convincing the buyer that the product is great, but then the buyer still remaining back and not wanting to close. And it's because there's friction in the whole setup process. The whole act of transitioning between systems and setting up an implementation process and connecting the integration and getting the team trained is a lot of work and a lot of effort. And so you have to be able to overcome that barrier in a new sale. But what that means is, if we're on the other side of that and we're the one that they're considering leaving, if we can just show them some value at all, then their desire to move is significantly lessened. They don't want to leave because they realize they are getting value, and they don't want to have to go through a big transition that would be nasty and ugly. That makes a whole ton of sense, Alex.
Well, it's also to your point earlier, where you said that we have this like saturation of the market for software tools, and everyone now has a BS detector that's like, do I really need another $25,000 a year app? Do I really need another $50,000 a year app, or whatever it is? Is it really going to deliver all the benefits that the website says, or, such and such ROI? People understand that you got to invest in change management. You got to invest in organizational change. You got to invest in integrations and all the millions of other things to make a project successful. And so if as an existing supplier, so you're already working with them, you can just go to them and say, look, we care about this. We're super experts. We've created a scorecard for you. We can show you incremental progress towards your goal on a monthly basis or quarterly basis, whatever we're communicating back to the client. They understand the effort that's involved. And they also then start to see things from their side. And they're like, oh, we know we didn't do this fast enough, and we didn't do this fast enough. We didn't communicate internally, any of that. So they're way more likely to give you the benefit of the doubt and stick with you, as long as you're always focused on the big goals that they're trying to aim for.
That's fantastic. I love it. And I think that it's so smart for people to start thinking this way. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. So as we wrap up here, Alex, what advice do you have for software leaders who realize that they need a better account management strategy, or they even need to get it started? What advice would you share with them?
The one thing that I always recommend is to get curious. And what I mean by that is spend time with your existing customers. The reason they might have bought from you 3 years or 4 years ago is probably different than why they're staying with you today. And so get curious to say, hey, Mr. Customer, Madam Customer, what's going on in your world? What's changing? Do a detailed voice of customer interview. Don't just do a survey. Don't send them another link to fill out. Sit down with them, buy them a cup of coffee if you can, or buy them lunch and say, what's happening in your world in 2024? How is it different than 2023? What's coming up for you next year? Have those levels of conversation. If you can be curious, you will then do exactly what you want to do in those surveys, which is identify risks and identify opportunities. But you do it and you show up in a way that allows you to project your credibility. It allows you to build trust. It allows you to show up as a partner to them. And there's this kind of very simple idea that everyone likes to talk about themselves. So if I can just show up and say, hey, Matt, as we get into the second quarter here of the year, I'm really curious, how have your goals changed based on what's happened over the last 6 months? What's coming up for you? What's new for you? What do I need to be aware of if we're to keep working together? That's an hour conversation right there. And you're going to get so much information just by being curious. So often I see account managers who just want to get on with it. They just want to hang up so they can move on to the next task. They're in a rush. They're being tactical. They're not being strategic. And if you just take the time to be curious, you will find all sorts of information that's going to help you be a better account manager.
Amazing advice. Take the time to be curious. I think that's awesome for account management as well as for software founders building a company and anybody that is trying to grow. So we'll leave it at that. That was incredible, Alex. So much great value shared. I hope everybody was taking notes. How can our audience learn more about what you're doing and Kapta, the company?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So at Kapta, our mission is really to elevate the profile of account managers. And so we've done that in a number of different ways. Number one, Kapta.com is the source for all the information about the software that we provide, about resources and white papers and stuff like that. So there's a ton of information at Kapta.com. But in addition to that, I want to share, we also put together an online training platform. We call it Cam Genius. So Cam, Key Account Manager, Cam Genius. It's a video course for account managers who want to up-level, who want to take their skills and really start applying them in 2024. In addition to that, we run a community. We run a conference called CamCon. It's actually coming up in about 3 weeks. It's in Boulder, Colorado. CamCon is the destination for people who are trying to break through the noise and show real results for their teams in 2024. So CamCon, Cam Genius are all part of the Kapta offering, and all that's at Kapta.com. Personally, I'm very easy to find on LinkedIn, Alex Raymond, quick search, and love to connect to everybody there.
Okay, perfect. We'll put that into the show notes. So if you're listening, go ahead and click that and you'll see all that great information there. But Alex, this has been awesome. Thanks so much for coming on the show and sharing all your wisdom.
Super. Thanks so much for having me, Matt.
Absolutely. And thank you out there for being here. Really glad that you have been here. Hopefully this was helpful to you and you were able to take this and be able to grow from it. Now, we are looking for reviews. So if you felt like this was helpful, what Alex shared, like I thought it was amazing, if you agree, go ahead and write a review on how awesome he is and how awesome the show is. That would really help us as we're trying to spread the word. And then make sure you're subscribed so that we will see you at the next one. Thank you. Take care. Have a good one.
Thanks for listening to Scale Your SaaS. For more help on finding great leads and closing more deals, go to mattwolach.com.